Flying might seem like a straightforward experience. You get on the plane, find your seat, and wait for takeoff. But what many travelers don't realize is that there's a set of unwritten rules of flying that can make or break the experience for you and everyone around you. These aren't official airline policies, but they're just as important if you want to avoid frustrating fellow passengers and embarrassing yourself mid-flight. From boarding etiquette to seat-sharing manners, many travelers unknowingly break these rules every time they fly. Today, we're revealing the unspoken laws of air travel that you might be guilty of violating. Make sure to watch until the end. Some of these mistakes could even get you called out by the flight crew. Before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more travel tips, insider hacks, and must-know flight secrets. Now, let's dive into the unwritten rules of flying that you're probably breaking. Number 1. Reclining your seat without checking first. You might think, I paid for my seat so I can recline whenever I want. But reclining without warning is one of the biggest annoyances on a flight. Imagine this. You're working on your laptop or eating a meal, and suddenly the seat in front of you comes flying back, crushing your space and nearly knocking over your drink. Frustrating, right? The polite way to recline is simple. Always glance back first and give a quick heads up to the person behind you. A small courtesy like saying, "Hey, just letting you know I'm reclining a bit," can prevent unnecessary conflicts. And if it's mealtime, keep your seat upright until trays are cleared. Nobody wants to struggle with a fork and knife in a tiny, tilted space. Number 2. Boarding before your zone is called. Airline staff call boarding groups in a specific order for a reason, yet many travelers completely ignore this and crowd the gate. If you're standing at the front when your zone hasn't been called yet, you're not getting on any faster. In fact, you're slowing down the process and creating chaos for those who actually need to board. Instead of rushing to the front, stay seated until your group is announced. If you're worried about overhead bin space, choosing a seat closer to the front of your boarding zone will give you a better chance of securing room for your carry-on without blocking the gate. Number 3. Taking both armrests in the middle seat. Nobody wants to be stuck in the middle seat. It's tight, uncomfortable, and offers zero benefits compared to the aisle or window seats. But there's one unspoken rule that can make it slightly more bearable. The middle seat passenger gets both armrests. Think about it. The window seat gets the view and a side to lean on. The aisle seat gets extra legroom and easy access to move around. The middle seat? Absolutely nothing, except for the right to both armrests. If you're in the aisle or window seat, resist the urge to hog both armrests. It's a small gesture that makes a big difference in comfort. Number 4. Walking barefoot on the plane. It might be tempting to kick off your shoes and get comfortable, but walking barefoot, or even in socks on a plane, is one of the biggest flying etiquette violations. Airplane carpets aren't cleaned as often as you think, and the lavatory floors? Let's just say they're not just wet because someone spilled water. If you want to take off your shoes, bring a pair of travel socks or slippers. But never, under any circumstances, put your bare feet on the seat or armrest of the person in front of you. It's one of the biggest pet peeves among travelers and guaranteed to disgust everyone around you. Number 5. Rushing to exit the plane. Before your turn, the second the plane lands, you'll see people unbuckling their seatbelts, grabbing their bags, and standing up as if they're about to sprint off the aircraft. But unless you're in the first few rows, you're not going anywhere yet. The unwritten rule here is simple. Deplaning happens row by row. If you're in row 25, don't try to push past passengers from row 10. It's frustrating, inconsiderate, and completely unnecessary. The only exception? If you have a tight connection and politely ask nearby passengers if they'll let you move ahead. Otherwise, stay seated until it's your row's turn to exit. Number 6. Using the overhead bin for small personal items. Overhead bin space is limited, and yet some passengers stuff their jackets, small purses, or even duty-free shopping bags into the compartments, taking up space meant for carry-on suitcases. Airlines allow one carry-on bag and one personal item for a reason. Your small items are meant to go under the seat in front of you, not in the overhead bin. If you're flying on a full flight, using up bin space for a small item forces other passengers to check their larger bags at the last minute. This can cause delays and a lot of frustration. If you have a backpack or a handbag, store it at your feet. and only use the overhead bin for larger suitcases or roller bags. It's a simple courtesy that helps everyone get settled faster. Number 7. Ignoring basic bathroom etiquette. Airplane lavatories are tiny, used by hundreds of people, and can quickly become unpleasant. But some passengers make it worse by spending way too much time in there, or leaving it a mess for the next person. If you need to freshen up, do it quickly. Airplane bathrooms aren't your personal spa. Be mindful of the line, especially on long-haul flights when multiple people may need to use it at the same time. And perhaps most importantly, always wipe down the sink area before you leave. Flight attendants aren't constantly cleaning it, so if you make a mess, clean up after yourself. Another unwritten rule: never go to the bathroom barefoot. This one should be obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people ignore it. Trust us, those floors aren't just wet from water. Number 8. Talking too loudly on a flight. Airplanes aren't libraries, but they're also not coffee shops. Whether you're chatting with a travel buddy, talking on the phone before takeoff, or watching videos without headphones, being too loud can make you the most annoying person on the plane. Most travelers just want some peace and quiet. So if you're talking, keep your volume down. And if you're watching a movie or listening to music, always use headphones. No one wants to hear your favorite TikTok clips or action movie explosions blasting from your seat. If you're seated next to someone who won't stop talking, a simple smile and putting on your headphones is a polite way to signal that you're not in the mood for conversation. It's an easy way to set boundaries without being rude. Number 9. Switching seats. Without asking. Airline seating is carefully planned, and switching seats without permission can create problems, especially if you're moving into a seat that someone paid extra for. Even if a seat looks empty, it might be reserved for a passenger boarding later. If you really want to switch seats, ask a flight attendant first. They can check if the seat is available or suggest an alternative. And if you're asking someone else to switch with you, be fair. Don't ask someone in an aisle seat to take a middle seat just so you can sit with a friend. If you want to guarantee sitting together, book your seats in advance. Number 10. Forgetting to thank the flight crew. Flight attendants deal with hundreds of passengers every day, often under stressful conditions. But despite their hard work, many travelers never even acknowledge them. Saying a simple thank you when receiving a drink, meal, or help goes a long way in making their job easier and more enjoyable. Believe it or not, being polite to the crew can even lead to unexpected perks. Sometimes flight attendants will offer extra snacks, a better seat if there's space, or just a more enjoyable experience overall. So, the next time you fly, take a moment to say thank you. A little kindness can make a big difference. Now that you know the unwritten rules of flying, how many of these have you seen other passengers break? Or, be honest, how many of these have you accidentally broken yourself? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and want more travel tips and flying hacks, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching and safe travels.